Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Lion's Den. No Nick Dawkins today, no Jerry Cross. Instead, we have our very first NFL guest, the man, the myth, the legend that is Mitchell Tinsley. You are a very unique individual because I remember sitting in Sean Clifford's apartment right across the street over at the Yards of Old State, and he told me, we got the new transfer in. He's here now, so I'm sitting down there. I got this image in my mind of who's going to come down the steps, this big, tough receiver, tough guy, and you came downstairs with the little homie Oscar, your little cat, man. Did you feel like coming in, you had to go earn some of that respect and go get it? And were you looking forward to those opportunities?
I was definitely looking forward to those opportunities. Coming in, you hear about Joey Porter and, Kalen King and all these, different guys. And I'm ready to compete. I mean, these are the best corners in college football. I'm ready to see, because I feel like I'm one of the best receivers, in which I feel like coming off that year, I was one of the best receivers in college football. So,
just for the people back home, you're telling me that the year that you have 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns, you went into the spring not even as a starter.
Yeah, I went into the spring not even a starter.
Stay faithful. We got the bowl game merch for you guys. Hoodies, tees, long sleeves, whatever you feel like wearing, we got it for the 2023 Peach Bowl. Check out the We Are Feeling Peachy gear in the link below. Have fun in Atlanta and looking forward to it. We are.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Lion's Den. No Nick Dawkins today, no Jerry Cross. Instead, we have our very first NFL guest, the man, the myth, the legend that is Mitchell Tinsley. Mitch, how are you doing today, brother?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I can't complain. Anytime we got Mitch Tinsley in the house, it's a good day. We got a lot to get into. Your story is impressive. It's a journey, to say the least. But before we do that, we got to let the people know how we got to know each other. We never were teammates, Tins. We kind of hit a period where I had just retired from playing football and you were just transferring in. But, I was thinking about it today, and you are a very unique individual because I remember sitting in Sean Clifford's apartment right across the street over at the Yards of Old State, and he told me, we got the new transfer in. He's here now, so I'm sitting down there. I got this image in my mind of who's going to come down the steps, this big, tough receiver, tough guy, and you came downstairs with the little homie Oscar, your little cat, man. You introduced yourself, you introduced Oscar, and you were a very kind dude, man. So shout out you, shout out Oscar, man. How's Oscar doing, by the way?
Man, Oscar's doing good, man. He's, just chilling as always. He's just doing his thing. But yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, for the people who don't know, the biggest beef in Penn State football history might have been between Sean Clifford and Oscar. That's a little known fact about Sean Clifford. He is a big cat guy. You got any stories about Sean and that cat?
Oh, man. It's just They got along, but it was to the point where I could tell Sean's not really an animal person, you know what I mean? And so I usually had Oscar in my room or whatever. So, but anytime I let him out or just kind of roam around, he would have. Oscar's kind of the type of the cat that he wants to go around food and things like that. He don't really know boundaries like that. So I think that kind of sometimes would rub him the wrong way. But I think they did all right together.
No, for sure. They made it work, man. And that's the important thing. Before we get to your journey, I'm going to ask you a question. And I thought about this because I remember my last year playing, we went to the Outback Bowl. And I remember when I saw y'all got the Rose Bowl the next year, I told myself I'd have thugged that bad knee out for one more season if it meant going to the Rose Bowl. Penn State this year is going to the Peach Bowl. So I want to ask you, with your long, extensive college career, are there any bowl games you look at now where you're like, man, that would have been a cool one to get to that you didn't get to play in?
I finished it off in the Rose Bowl. I feel like that's as good as you can get. Besides going to the playoff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, they go to the Peach Bowl this year. That would have been cool, or the Cotton Bowl, or those big bowl games would have been awesome to go to. But I think ending it off in the Rose Bowl is probably the best that I think I could have done, honestly. So I was happy with that.
There's nothing like it. I got to play in the Cotton Bowl. That was really cool. New Year's 6, historic, right? But something about the Rose Bowl, bro. There is something just a little bit different about that. If you're not playing in the national championship, then send me to the Rose Bowl every time.
No, definitely.
Yeah, and I want to ask you. Your journey is spectacular to say the least. Yeah, and we'll get into the details here, but I want to start, at a place I know you know well. Coming out of high school, you went there, Hutchinson Community, JUCO route. Penn State has had a ton of success with JUCO guys. Yourself, Jaquan Brisker, Jair Brown, all going from JUCO to playing in the NFL. So I want to take you back to Hutchinson Community and when you decided to go there out of high school. Talk to me about that thought process, how you ended up there, and give me a little bit of background on that.
Oh man, so out of high school, so I only played 1 year of high school football. I had played football in Little League, but I kind of wanted to try different things, and I did track when I was little, and I never got a chance to play basketball. So high school came around, it was free, so I tried out for the basketball team in middle school and high school, and I was just trying to do the basketball thing to see how far I could take that. But I started missing football, so I came back my senior year. So I only played one year of high school football. So I didn't really have many offers or anything like that. I had some Division II schools that wanted me to walk on, and some NAIA schools that wanted me to walk on. So I ended up deciding I'm gonna try to bet on myself and go the JUCO route. So I ended up hearing about a tryout at Hutchinson Community College, and ended up making a team, and that's how I got there.
That's crazy. So you were a hooper by nature, track and field kid. So I'll ask you about basketball. Because I know all the football guys that'll say that they can play basketball if you ask them. So I'm going to ask you right now, with the understanding that our viewers are really good at Googling this type of information.
Right.
How many points per game was Mitch Tinsley putting up back in his prime?
So here's a little story about that. So I played basketball my freshman year, sophomore year, and junior year. So freshman year, I was on freshman team. Sophomore year, I was on JV. Junior year, I was on varsity. I started 1 or 2 games, and I think in both of those games, let's say I had 10 points. One was probably 15, one was 8, whatever, somewhere. So let's say I averaged 10, 12 points, whatever. Okay. So I had 6 turnovers one of those games. They moved me from varsity back to JV. Okay. And right there, I was like, that's when the reality hit. I should probably I know I'm good at football. I just need to go back to what I do. And so that's kind of when I decided, I was like, I'm done with this. I'm gonna go play football.
I appreciate the humility and the honesty, man. People would have lied about getting sent back to that JV, so I respect it.
Oh yeah.
No, for sure. And I'll ask you straight up. My only understanding of JUCO, other than what I've learned talking to guys like you and Brisker and Jair, is what I watched on Last Chance U coming out of high school. I was watching it, a different scenario. I played football the whole time. I had every offer in the country that I wanted, but I wasn't taking school seriously. So what I would do to motivate myself to get my academics handled and in line was I'd go watch Last Chance U and understand that it can really get like that. So I want to ask you, obviously the school was good to you and it helped you propel to where you are now, but with that JUCO experience, can you recall anything that was extra gritty in your time there?
The grades part. That's kind of part of the reason why I went to JUCO. Because if I had the grades, I think I probably would have walked on. Because that's the other reason I didn't. I had a 2.4 GPA, 2.4 GPA, and my ACT score. When you have a low GPA, you need a higher ACT. Yeah. I needed I think I got a 17 on my ACT. So it was I needed to keep retaking it, and I just did not want to retake that ACT and study for it and all those different things. And that, that's probably part of my downfall also was in high school. I did enough just to get by. School, I never really liked school and things like that. So that's kind of the reason why I ended up at JUCO. As far as the grittiness of JUCO, it's one of them things, man. It's you got to do what you got to do to make it out. But I don't know. There's a lot of stories, man. But
Go ahead.
I was just saying, honestly, man, it's just going to the caf every day. We had to take this little long walk down the street to get to the student cafeteria. The food wasn't there, wasn't really too good. They had this little discount code at Papa John's that was right down the street, and we get a medium pizza for $6. And so we just keep hitting that code in. So anyway, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of different things that, that went on at Juco. But I mean, honestly, it's kind of one of them things that you're willing to do whatever it takes, to make it to where you're trying to get to. So
You bring up some good points. I remember as a player at Penn State, one thing that Franklin would always say that would zone me out while I was at Penn State was, hey, I know everything isn't perfect and there are other things that you might like to have at Penn State, but there are other places that you can be that do not have nearly the facilities that we have to take care of y'all. So, you got to see both of them. Are the differences that stark between a JUCO and a place like Penn State?
yeah, I mean, it's like, I was in the middle of Kansas, in the middle of, I don't want to say nowhere, 'cause I'm not trying to disrespect Hutchinson Community College or community, the area, but it just wasn't a lot going on there. And as far as that, the facilities and things, a junior college, budget and things like that, it's only so much they can do, you know what I mean? So it's the training room wasn't as nice as even Western Kentucky. When I went from Hutchinson Community College to Western Kentucky, I mean, it was a night and day difference. And then when I went from Western Kentucky to Penn State, a night and day difference. So it's I don't know. It's it creates appreciation. It creates, that thing, man, look how far I've come. That moment in your head also.
For sure. That makes a ton of sense. And I'll ask you right now, I think there are a lot of talented guys every year that take the JUCO route. For whatever reason, they go to the JUCO. But talent alone doesn't ensure that you get out of the JUCO and that you elevate to the next level. So what I want to ask you about right now is your mindset that you had while you were at Hutchinson Community. And then I'd also like to ask what advice you give to a young player who may be at a JUCO and it may not be the most ideal situation that they were really envisioning for their future and their career. But obviously you're a guy who is panned out for. You're playing for the Washington Commanders now. So what would you give in terms of advice to those young players in that situation?
Man, I mean, my mindset was, by any means, by any means necessary. That's how I had to have it. I know that I'm not going to be given anything. And that's kind of been my, even Little League, I was always kind of the second best player or I was never Mitch, he's that guy. It never got to that point. It was oh, Mitch is good. He's solid. Even in high school, he's solid, but he's not that guy. So it always put a chip on my shoulder to always have to work harder than the other guys or people next to me. I remember getting to JUCO and on paper, cause I walked on. So on paper, I'm not even really supposed to play. We had bounce backs or, high school recruits that, had offers from Georgia and Florida and things like that, Florida State and all these different schools that, were the same age as me coming in as freshmen. But the only reason they're not at the Power 5 schools is because their grades and things like that. And I didn't have nowhere near those type of offers, you know what I mean? So on paper, you know what I mean? But it's it's one of the things when you put the work in and, you know what you're capable of and, you attack your weaknesses every single day. And you always have that end goal in mind, but knowing that, you got to focus on this one day at a time, then you'll end up, usually where you want to be at.
For sure. Be where your feet are, man. 6-second mentality. That same
Definitely.
principle that you try to carry as a football player. That's life.
No, definitely. I heard Kobe said one thing. He was you got to have the mindset that you want it to happen tomorrow, but have the patience or something like that. Have the patience to know that it's not going to happen just like that. And you just got to, just keep working. But, obviously knowing that you're trying to get it tomorrow, you're trying to make it happen.
Yeah, no, straight up. I'll transition. You brought up Western Kentucky already. You transfer there, you find success in year one, and then year two, you explode. I mean, before you even transferred to Penn State, I was hearing about the way you explode. 1,400 yards plus 14 touchdowns. You absolutely ball out at WKU. So, and you mentioned it, it's a step up from where you were, right? So when making that transition, what is it you feel like that allowed you to find some of that success, especially in year two?
Well, I would say because when I first got to Western, right, they had just had a receiver. His name was Lucky Jackson. He's on the Minnesota Vikings right now. But they had just had a receiver leave, and he had 1,000+ yards, couple 10 plus touchdowns or something like that. So I'm walking in, after he had just left, and I'm trying to recreate that same success that he had just had. And that year, I was the leading receiver and things like that. But me personally, I didn't reach any of the goals. I got really high goals and standards, for myself. And, we offensively, we didn't have a good year. It was COVID. That was COVID year 2020. So, I mean, just things weren't going well. And then, you go into the springtime, going up before I had that big year, they recruit 2 receivers basically to, how college is, the business is, offense didn't do well. We're going to recruit new people to, do different things. So they recruited new people. And, I started the next year in springtime as second string. I was second string that whole spring for the most part. I earned my job back towards the end. Got back.
Real quick, just for the people back home, you're telling me that the year that you have 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns, you went into the spring not even as the starter.
Yeah, I went into the spring not even the starter. We had a whole new offensive staff, new offensive coordinator. I had a new receiver coach. It was just new faces around. I mean, we still had the same head coach, and our defensive side was still the same, but we had new everything on offense. And so it was kind of just like, I got to prove myself to, new coaches all over again. I'm starting second string. They recruited 2 people, 2 new, players to basically, take over the starting receiver spots. So it was kind of like, one of the things like, it's one of the things in the process where it's like, man, like, I hope everything goes the way it's supposed to go, because I know the work I put in, you know what I mean? I just hope that, I get the opportunity to show it.
Yeah, you talk about the work that you put in leading up to those things. And, I think confidence is super important with players and young players especially. You already brought up Kobe. I just saw a clip of him playing in the gold medal game in the Olympics. And he's talking about how he's walking around. He can tell how nervous everybody is. Like, these NBA All-Stars are nervous. And he thought to himself, they should be way more nervous than I am, because I know I'm ready. He had done the work, and that gives some confidence. So, leading into that, I want to ask you, at what point, having come from Juco and having gone to a Conference USA team in Western Kentucky, did you say to yourself, I'm Mitch Tinsley and I can go play in the NFL. I can go play at a Power 5 if I want to. When did that switch hit where you truly were able to believe that?
I would say my sophomore year at Juco. My sophomore season, my coach, it was my receivers coach back home and my coach at Hutchinson Community College my sophomore year. They kind of were really like, they used to always say things like, man, like, you could be one of the top receivers in the country. Like, you need to work like it. Just little things like that. And it's like, at first you like, coming out of Juco, I was like, man, I hope I can get like an FCS offer, like just a small Division I school and things like that. And then you see like, at my freshman year, I had his name was Jalen Irwin. He got offered to UCLA. He was getting all these big offers, and it kind of switches your mindset of what you can accomplish and what you can attain. And so, it was kind of one of them things. So it's like really my sophomore year, I was like I'm putting in the work. I'm seeing like the fruits of my labor, like show up. And it's like I can do this, especially when you start playing against other people who are, going to these big schools, things like that. And what you're doing to them. Like, I know what I'm capable of.
Yeah. I think a lot of times what you see, and there are cases of this all over the place, where, people coming out of high school or even maybe early in college, they're supposed to be X, Y, Z because they got 4 stars, 5 stars, they had this offer, that offer. And then you get to school or you get to whatever program it is and you go up against them, you're like, he's actually not even a little bit better than I am. I never had that experience at Penn State. Actually, a lot of people had that experience with me, but it was a very real part of the process for guys. And what I'll ask you, actually, before I say that, I'll tell you another story. So you mentioned having guys transfer in and becoming a second string guy in that spring before you exploded. So I remember it's after the COVID season. So I had I played against Illinois at the end of the year. I had a TFL. I'm like, this is my opportunity.
Right.
Here, I'm about to climb the ladder. I'm playing next year.
Right.
Doing the numbers, I was honest with myself as a player. There were probably a solid 4 or 5 D tackles who were better than me and were going to remain better than me. Like, that's just what it was. But I was going to still play. I was going to be that 6 D tackle. I get on Twitter one morning and I see a kid named Derek Tangelo has committed to Penn State from Duke. He's a D tackle. And we get to spring ball. And let me tell you something. I had the mindset that I was going to embarrass him. I'm ready. I'm better than this kid. They made a mistake bringing him in. And Derek Tangelo plays for the Atlanta Falcons now. And I do podcasts. So that's how it goes sometimes, man.
Yeah, it's just the nature of the, college is a business too.
It's business, man. It's
Yeah,
business. God had different plans for the boy, man. That's okay.
definitely,
I'm gonna
definitely.
I'm gonna put you on the spot here before we get to Penn State, and that transition. But bigger jump from JUCO to WKU, or from WKU to Penn State? Which one did you feel like this was a bigger talent gap, or maybe whatever it was that made it more difficult of a transition?
Penn State faithful, we got the bowl game merch for you guys. Hoodies, tees, long sleeves, whatever you feel like wearing, we got it for the 2023 Peach Bowl. Check out the We Are Feeling Peachy gear in the link below. Have fun in Atlanta and looking forward to it. We are.
It's tough because I don't really feel like it was a jump. Honestly, either situation, I felt like after my sophomore year of my second season at Penn State, I felt ready. Like I was ready. I played against people who were going to Bama and things like that. Like when I went to West Kentucky, I felt like I was ready. You know, I felt like I was a Power 5 player then. I just didn't have the offers. You know what I mean? There were some Power 5 schools that were interested, but they didn't end up pulling the trigger and offering me. So, I mean, I felt like I was ready going to Western Kentucky. I spent my 2 seasons there at Western Kentucky. And, you know, I balled out when we played the Power 5 schools at Western Kentucky. I balled out against those schools, Michigan State, Indiana, and things like that. So for that 5th year, that COVID year, when I decided to enter my name in the transfer portal, I knew that only schools I'm going to are Power 5 schools. Like, I'm trying to, you know, play on the biggest stage possible. And when I got to Penn State, you know, I had full confidence in my abilities and what I could do. So, I mean, I don't really feel like it was, you know, a jump, honestly. You know what I mean? It was kind of like my mindset was already ready and prepared to go to work. You know, I had to earn my position because there was other schools in the transfer portal when I first left, like big schools that were trying to offer me, you know, this amount of money or whatever to go to their schools and things like that. But I think I felt more comfortable coming to Penn State because it wasn't anything promised necessarily. Like, you know what I mean? It was like Jahan just left. You know, there's a spot here. You know what I mean? You have to come here and earn it. I came there second string. You know, I had to earn it. But for me, I was fully confident in my ability and what I was capable of. So it was kind of one of those things.
That's interesting you say that. I know that Coach Franklin is not just handing out jobs and he's not going to make those promises. But I think maybe for the leaders back home, and especially in this modern transfer portal era, you would think that there are coaches out here who are making those guarantees. And there are coaches who will do that.
Yeah,
but you're saying that you actually found comfort in Franklin not making those guarantees and letting you know straight up that if you wanted the spot, you'd have to come in and win it.
Yeah, definitely. Because, I mean, I was always told, you know, if it sounds like it's too good to be true, it usually is. You know what I mean? You know, so it's like they can say they're going to offer me this amount of money and things like that, or you're going to be our number one guy when you get there. And, you know, just for me and, you know, like my life experiences and things like that, like I don't really feel too comfortable with that. You know what I mean? So it's like you never know how those situations would have worked out. But, you know, for me, you know, I felt comfortable knowing that there's an open spot. Nobody has played in it besides the person that just left.
Yep.
It's what are you going to do with it when you get here in spring ball? Bet. So that was kind of my mentality.
Yeah, it seems like, I mean, due to the circumstances you found yourself in and some of your experiences, you know how to go compete and you know how to go win. And it's like you're almost more comfortable when you're in the face of adversity or some type of confrontation.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I want to ask you, you know, I can remember when I was playing with the transfer portal being as new as it was and still kind of is, that when we had a player transfer in, especially a player who is transferring up from a Western Kentucky to a Penn State, as a player on the active roster before that, like I'm looking for them to get challenged. I'm looking to see how they respond in the face of adversity and competition to see if they can hang and bang. So what I'll ask you on the other side of that is, did you feel like coming in you had to go earn some of that respect and go get it? And were you looking forward to those opportunities?
I was definitely looking forward to those opportunities. Like, you know, coming in, like, you know, you hear about like Joey Porter and, you know, Kalen King and all these, you know, different guys. And I'm ready to compete. I mean, these are the best corners in college football. I'm ready to see, because I feel like I'm one of the best receivers, in which I feel like coming off that year, I was one of the best receivers in college football. So I was excited for the opportunity. And then, you know, obviously earning your respect in practice and, you know, winter workouts and things like that. And like, you know, I was looking forward to, you know, getting to work and, you know, just proving that I belong and I should have been at this level the whole time. You know what I mean? So that was kind of my mentality, you know. So, yeah, that was my mindset.
For sure. And I'll ask you about a guy you already mentioned, Kalen King, who's going to get ready to come out for the NFL draft this year. You competed against him day in and day out last season. What is it about Kalen as a corner that makes him special? They're talking about potentially him being a top 20 pick, a first rounder, the first cornerback in Penn State history to go in the first round. What is it about him that makes him that special?
His competitiveness. I mean, I feel like everybody says that, but like he really competes. I mean, every time, and like, you know, sometimes, you know, I've been in places where it's like, you know, the starters, especially during the season, nobody wants to do like one-on-ones and like, you know, they're trying to get in and out of practice and things like that. Anytime, you know, we had one-on-one situations where we got to go against the defense, like in competitive periods or anything like that, he was like, hey, Mitch, hey, come over here, let's work. Like that type of thing. And like, I feel like, you know, he was always, even when like me and Parker used to always go up to the facility and, you know, get some extra work in, I would always see him there. So, I mean, I feel like for me, you know, as long as he keeps that mindset, you know, going into his next step and, you know, going to play in the pros, I feel like he'll do all right. He'll do a good job.
What I was saying was, you know, I feel like there are a lot of places around the country that you can go play in the NFL at, really from any level. If you got the juice, they'll come find you. But one of the benefits of going to Penn State in this era is that you got guys like Kalen King who are going to be in the facility late at night when you think you're sneaking in. It's just going to be you working out hard. They're, you know, iron sharpens iron. And it's plastered on the walls as soon as you go in. You're entering the most competitive environment in college football. And the type of athletes that are at Penn State now are allowing that to be a reality. And talking about competition, I'm going to take you back to 2022. Before the season, there was all kinds of noise with a young, talented guy in Drew Allar, who we're seeing his talent now. He's grown into the quarterback that he'll ultimately be. And the guy who's playing in the NFL, Sean Clifford, a Green Bay Packer, you know, I was in the media that year. I remember all of the outside noise and the conversation about who should be playing quarterback and the coaches aren't making the right decision, blah, blah, blah. You guys go ultimately and win a Rose Bowl that season. You guys stayed focused through that outside noise, if you will. How did you do that as an offense? Where did it come from? Did you hear the noise, and how did you handle it?
For me, you know, you hear some of that noise, definitely, but, you know, you try to just control what you can control. And, you know, for me, you know, Sean was my roommate. So, you know, that was my guy. You know, obviously, you know, I rock with Drew heavy also. And I'm glad to see all the things he's doing. You know, he always worked his butt off. But, you know, for me, you hear those things. But I think at the end of the day, like I said, you just got to control what you can control and do your job to the best of your ability. And I think, you know, that's what everybody did on offense, you know, to help us win that Rose Bowl.
Yeah. Well, I'll ask you about Drew. Obviously, we know about Sean. He's the backup quarterback with the Packers. He all-time leader in pretty much every category at Penn State. So, you know, he was a great quarterback in his own right. You got another one hopefully coming up. We got to see Drew in his first full year as a starter, did some good things. What did you notice about Drew as a young player that indicated to you that he had a chance to be special?
Just his level of, like, how much poise he had. You know, he would come in. I remember Purdue, his first game of the season, I think Sean had cramped up. And it was like 2 or 3 drives he came in. He was standing in the pocket, you know, delivering the ball. I think, you know, for the most part, he came in there and handled that situation really well as a true freshman who hadn't taken any reps or anything like that. So I feel like, honestly, you know, he did a really good job coming in. He stepped in a few times during the season. Michigan, Indiana, that I can remember right now. When we played. So yeah, I mean, like, I think that he was just poised and ready for the moment. He didn't seem like it was too big for him.
Yeah, and I think to this day that's what's most impressive about him. Even when he's maybe not playing as well as he wants to, when you watch him on the field, a lot of times, actually all the time, it looks like he still believes he has full control. He's never panicked. The guys around him gain some confidence from that, I'm sure. And it's been exciting to watch. And I'll ask you, since you have played at so many different places through college, now in the NFL, when you transition offensive coordinators, Mike Yurcich gets let go at Penn State. He moves on. They bring in a new offensive coordinator. How tough of a transition is that offensively when you're playing for a new coordinator in year one?
It's as tough as you make it, honestly, because, you know, in college, I had 5 different offensive coordinators in college. Every year I was in college, I had a different offensive coordinator and a new receiver coach. So, I mean, it's like, you know, you just gotta kind of get with the program. And, you know, obviously, you know, it's like, for me, how I always learned is, you know, you gotta start with the basics first, you know, learn your formations, learn, you know, the basic plays, quick game, and all those different things. I mean, I feel like when you really think about it, all offenses are pretty the same, pretty similar for the most part, as far as, me learning. It's just like, okay, what concepts are the same, yada, yada, yada. Okay, they call this, and they call this, but it's the same thing, you know what I mean? So it's just about, finding similarities and, obviously just trying to figure out, what's new.
Yeah, and that's the interesting part about football, that maybe I think people outside of that realm don't really get to understand. The casual fan is that everybody's doing the same thing to some extent.
Yeah.
Once you understand a base level of concepts and what an offense or a defense is going to try to do to you, they may align differently. They may do little intricate things to make it seem different, but the concept is the same. The idea is the same. So once you have an understanding of that, and that's what I've been telling Penn State fans about Drew with the new offensive coordinator. He understands football at a high level, especially for a young player. He's poised already, and he's a smart guy. So I have no concern that he's going to be able to go learn those things in his next year and continue to grow. You started at Juco, Tinsley. You started on the JV basketball team. You went Juco. You had to get it the hard way, and then you end your college career in the biggest bowl game there's ever been, the Rose Bowl. You lead the team in receptions, and you win the game before heading off to an NFL career. So I want to ask you that moment, that evening you guys played in the Rose Bowl, and you played well. How important was it for you and your family?
I think for me, it was just like, before I, took the field, it was kind of like, I just got to really live in the moment. It was a really kind of full circle because my favorite player was Reggie Bush. That's kind of the reason I wear number 5. And his last game was in the Rose Bowl. You know what I mean? And it was kind of crazy. When they played Texas, I think that year. But yeah, it was a long time coming. And, I was very appreciative, to be there and be able to play in that game, for my team and, for Penn State, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Reggie Bush was my favorite player too.
Yeah,
obviously it was nothing like Reggie Bush, but enjoyable to watch. I respect it wearing number 5 because of that's awesome. I asked you, let's fast forward now. You're playing with the Washington Commanders. But in Mitch Tinsley fashion, your journey there was not the easiest route possible. You go undrafted out of Penn State. It's hard as an undrafted guy to make the practice squad, let alone the active roster. You have found a way again to beat the odds, rise above, and earn your keep. What did it take to do it? How did you go about it? And at what point throughout camp did you realize, man, I got a chance to go do it for real?
I would say, man, it was when I first got here, honestly. It was like OTAs, we're with the veterans and things like that. And I'm still making the same plays. I feel like the speed wasn't different. You know what I mean? It was kind of like you say, when you asked me about the jump from this to this, it was like I felt ready, honestly. I was making a lot of plays every single day. I was picking up the offense really well because, like I said, this is my 6th offensive coordinator, 6th receiver coach, different system in 6 years. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just, it's the same thing. So I feel like for me, I was ready for it. And, obviously, you got to take it one day at a time. And, obviously with being undrafted, you got to limit the mistakes and things like that. But, for me, it was no pressure, honestly. I knew that, as long as I put my best foot forward, I would, get the results that I wanted. But, honestly, to this day, I feel like I'm nowhere near how good of a player I can be. And, the goals I want to accomplish, I'm nowhere near those goals either. So I still got a lot of things that I'm trying to work for and get to. So it's just the beginning, honestly.
Yeah, respect. We look forward to watching it. I got a couple quick questions here for you. You talk about goal setting. You talk about accomplishing those goals. You do it time and time again, and you continue to advance in football and life and all the things you do. But I want to ask you, because I think it takes more than talent, and we ask all of our guests, when you go accomplish these things, when you're waking up in the morning and you're going to do it, we're talking about the grind of it, not the shine of it. You're going and you're disciplining yourself to go accomplish these things. What is Mitch Tinsley's why?
Yeah. For me, it's a few things. I want to inspire, people that were in similar situations as me, that, whether it's football or anything, that, no matter how grim it looks, you can be whatever you want to be. You can do whatever you want to do. I feel like for me, I've, shown that, with faith, I believe in God. that prayer and hard work can get you anything you want. So I feel like for me, that's one of the reasons. And then obviously, my goals, personal goals that I've always wanted and dreams that I've seen this stuff before it happened almost in a way, kind of like not exactly how it went, but like for the most part, I visualized, I always visualize myself being in the NFL. Like, I always, it's like that. It's like you have to dream to know what you want, and then you have to leave that somewhere, hang it up somewhere, and know like, all right, what's the steps to get to that, and focus one step at a time. You know what I mean? For me, it was okay. Like I know I need to go JUCO, so I'm gonna go JUCO to try to get some type of Division I offer. And then boom, once I get the Division I offer, I need to have production. I need to play. I need to make big plays and big moments. And once you stack those little goals up, you'll get to where you want to get to. So I feel like that was how I set my goals and how it kind of worked for me.
Yeah, I respect it, man. One foot in front of another, trusting your faith, going about it every day with the understanding that this plan is already written and that you got the success that you want to go. I love the Kobe quote earlier with the work ethic, like it's got to happen tomorrow, but the patience to endure the long stretch, the marathon that life
Definitely.
is. Yeah, I respect it, man. I want to ask you last question here. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. It's a popular one. You're a rookie in the NFL, Mitch.
Yeah.
Have you had a "Hey rookie, welcome to the NFL" moment at the end of this season?
As far as like on the field, off the field, like
practice, off the field, any of it.
Oh man. Well, off the field, I've had some like rookie duties type thing. Like, every away game, I got to bring food to, in our receiver room. I got to bring food, to the plane. I had a rookie dinner when we went to Seattle. When we played the Seahawks. Let's
slow down at rookie dinner because I hear various reports about what rookie dinner looks like.
Mine wasn't crazy. Like there's a lot of crazy stories out there. Like mine wasn't like crazy. Like I spent like $1,500, or the bill was like $1,500. Like it wasn't like crazy. You know what I mean? Like there's some people that spend some real bread, but I haven't really had that moment, at least as of right now. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm just kind of waiting for my opportunity. But I'm sure there's going to be a moment when I get in, and I remember when we played the Broncos, and I'm like, man, I'm really out here. Like I'm on the field, and I'm like, wow, like there's Russell Wilson over there. He's watching me in the game right now. I'm going in motion. I'm like, Russell Wilson's watching, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Just like, stuff like that. But I don't think I've had like a "Hey, rookie, welcome to the NFL" moment yet. Not yet.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, Mitch, I don't know if you hear yourself talking, but anybody who can say that $1,500 meal they paid for wasn't too crazy is a blessed individual, man. God has been good in your life, man. So I hope that you are thankful for it. Tins, I appreciate you joining me, man. All the love and respect in the world for you, bro. Keep doing your thing. Keep climbing. You got fans over here at the Lions Den. When you go make your first Pro Bowl and win your first Super Bowl and do all those things, we'll bring you back on here, bro.
Most definitely. Most definitely. I appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Tins.